Alright, this is going to be a basic cracking tutorial. It's going to involve a quick tutorial in Ollydbg, PEID, and a crash course in patching and keygen injection. All these files, keygen.exe, Ollydbg, and PEID, there are links to them on the my website, securityunfocused.com. This isn't live just yet, so I can't really show what the actual page is going to look like, but it'll look something like that. First thing you're going to do is drag and drop the keygen onto PID. It shows up that it was compiled with Borland Delphi. It wasn't compressed with anything, so we're cool to just start decompiling it. Not decompiling, disassembling. So we drag and drop onto Olly. Quick rundown with Olly. This is assembly right here. This is the hex equivalent of the assembly. All programs, they're made of binary. Binary is just a different way of showing hex, is a different way of showing decimals, a different way of showing ASCII, yada yada yada. So this is your assembly right here. This is the hex equivalent, and these are the addresses to each one of the commands. Everything in memory, every line of assembly, it all has an address in memory in which it resides. So this is a hex. This is your hex down here for the program. This is the address at which it resides. This is the actual hex, and these are the ASCII equivalents. Now you notice not always, it doesn't always come out real nice. This is a stack over here. This is your CPU registers and some other fun stuff. And that's kind of the basics of the layout. Some real basics in using Olly. You can start the program using start. You can pause it at any time. Typically, you don't really have too much of a use for pausing it. Pausing is F12, running is F9. To step into the program, step over with the program. Stepping over is basically it executes every line of assembly one at a time, except for calls. Well, it executes the call, and and a call is a function. So like, although this looks like just one line of code, if I highlighted it and press enter, it shows all the code that's behind it. So that one little line is actually all this junk right here. It executes all this stuff and then it returns back to where it's at. Now, if you ever get lost in Olly and you don't really know exactly where you're at, and you want to go back to like where you last were executing in the program, if you hit Shift 8, it'll bring you back there. So we're at the beginning of the program. Typically when I start cracking a program, I'm just going to run it just to see what it's doing. So I ran it. Thing comes up, it says, keygen me and delete this window. Good luck. Thank you. Alright, so we want to get rid of that window, and we want to make a keygen for this thing. So blah, 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 bad boy. Alright, well that's kind of a good thing. We now have a string that we can look for, kind of like a landmark in the program. Let's close it. Press Control F2 to restart it. Now, we want to remove that first window. Looks like this is it right here. It's calling a message box, and then it's pushing a bunch of junk to it. So these are the buttons for it. This is the title of the window. This is the text that shows up. And null is the owner. There's a couple ways we can get around this. What we could do is we could patch. I'll show you how to patch it. If you double click any line of assembly you want, you can change its assembly. So what if we change this line right here to jump to right there? Then it would never call all this junk. So this line, the address to it is 4082.2f. So if we double click this and type in JMP, which stands for jump, we want to jump to 4082.2f. Hit assemble, cancel because now it wants to assemble the next line. And let's just try that. Let's hit run, and we didn't get a window. Awesome. So, wow, we're awesome. Alright, Control F2 to restart. Now every time you restart, Olly resets all the assembly, so I don't really feel like patching it every time we're going to restart this thing. What we can do from now on is, if we step into the program using F8, step to that line where we normally jump, you can actually right-click the line where you want to go to, and click New Origin here. That's actually just going to set the current line that Olly's at right there. So that code just never gets executed. So let's start executing the program little by little. Alright, it stopped at this call and the window came up. So obviously that call right there is where we want to go next. So I'm going to hit enter to see what the function behind that call is. So it looks like we're doing some basic function starting stuff and dialog box param. That's probably the dialog box that's showing up, this GUI thing. It looks like it's pushing some parameters. DLG proc is usually the code that's kind of driving the dialog box, like what happens when you click the buttons, such like that. We probably want to find out what was pushed to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a breakpoint. Breakpoints basically tell the program to stop when it hits this line. You do that by selecting a line and then hitting F2. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to restart the program. The cool thing about Ollie is it remembers the breakpoints. So I'm just going to hit F9. That stupid nag window comes up because I didn't do the jump or anything. But it stopped where we wanted it to, which is good because now I can see the address as to where the code we want to go to is. So I want to press Control G, which will bring up a little window that'll let me kind of take me to any place in memory I want to go. We want to go to 7F04. Okay, now let's set a breakpoint there, and I pressed Shift 8 to take me back to the current line I was at. We want to take the breakpoint off this one. Now let's do a restart. Start the program. Say okay to the stupid naggy window. Okay, so now we're a little bit farther into the program. Now we stopped at the code behind the dialog box. So let's scroll down a little bit. We see end dialog. We see a switch case. Switch cases are basically like a series of ifs. If 1, then do this. If 2, do that, etc., etc. Alright, this looks like it has something to do with the GUI. Get dialog box item. Enter a serial. Enter a name. So these are probably... And there's a compare statement for each of them. Compares are basically like an if statement. So I'm guessing by these, if you don't enter a serial or don't enter a name, it does so right there by checking with these two lines. It's going to pop up and say enter a serial, enter a name. I'm going to try that right now. Start. If you have a breakpoint in this area right there, you can't run the program because that code is being run every like millisecond to make this window work. So I had to take that breakpoint off just for a second. So if I don't enter a name, it says enter a serial. I put a serial in. Now it says enter a name. So I'm going to put my breakpoint back in for a second. Restart the program. Okay. Alright. So we were right about that. So it's checking for it's checking the username, checking the serial. And then there's some junk right there. And right after it, it says registered version, winner good boy, or wrong way bad boy. So I'm assuming right around here is where all the magic happens. So I'm going to take our breakpoint off from up here. And go back to down here and put it right... let's put it right here. Actually, I'm not sure if this is executed yet or not. So just to be safe, let's put it at this compare statement, because we know that compare is going to be run every single time the program runs. So say go, enter a name, whatever, click go. It hit it. Cool. So now let's start pressing F8 to step into the program little by little. Alright, now see, I would have been wrong. I was going to put the breakpoint here, and it jumped right over that. So it's a good thing I put it on a place I knew the program was going to go to. There's a lot of trial and error in cracking. Alright, so it looks like there's, I think that was our username. I can't remember which one we put in there. But that was definitely user data that I put in. It looks like it's putting that to the right there. It's pushing those into the CPU registers, and it's calling a function. Okay, alright. It's now pushing some other ones, calling a function. Okay. There's some more user data. It's calling another function. Now, this last call, right before registered version, good boy, bad boy, I'm willing to bet that that's the one we want. So, it looks like it's pushing our junk and something else to this function. Now, why would it push our stuff and then something else to the call? I'm almost willing to bet that it's pushing our stuff and then what the actual password is to that function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in memory. I'm down in the hexa window, and I'm going to type in 8609 6C. Alright, HZF. Alright, I'm thinking this is our serial. So I'm going to copy that. And get rid of all the other junk we don't need. Oops, just copy what we do need. Let's restart the program. I think I typed in ASD123. Serial. Okay. Good boy. We win. That fast. Now, keep in mind, this is a very, very simple program. Most programs do not work this way. They're going to encrypt your password and check it against an already encrypted password. It's never the real password is never going to enter clear text, or it shouldn't. So let's go back to our program. We'll put in our junk. Let's put in an actual junk. So we'll say splitman x64 serial. Who cares? All right. So we're here. Let's put a breakpoint right there. So ASD, that's my so-called serial that I put in. And then 860984, that's the address to our serial. So, what I'd like to do is I basically want to turn this program into a keygen. I want to do what's called keygen injection. So how could I do that? I know this address right here has the string of the password. What I could do is change this line right here to a jump and make it jump to right here, and then change this line to, instead of putting out the string of bad boy, I can have it put out the string of the password. So we want to jump to here. This is 40, 80, 86. Let's change jump 40, 80, 86. Cancel. Now we want to change this. This line right here is moving the address of our password to EAX. EAX is one of the CPU registers. So all we have to do is, instead of pushing an address, let's push EAX. Okay, cool. Looks kind of stupid right now, but I think it's going to work. So let's try it running it line by line. Pushes the address to EAX. There it is. Jump. Okay, it pushes 0. pushes wrong way, that's the title, pushes EAX, which is where the address to our thing is. Nop, nop, nop. Nop means no operation, it doesn't do anything. Okay. And then it's going to call the message. Okay, so message box popped up, and there's our password. So we've now turned this into a keygen. Okay, sorry, I had to stop something for a second just to check. So now that we know what we have to do, what we can do to patch this program permanently is this first patch we did. We want to make a jump to 4082 2F. Let's do that. Jump 4082 2F. Oh, geez, hump. Jump 4082 2F. Alright, let's make sure that works. Okay, that's all working fine. I'm going to step into this using enter. Actually, we set our breakpoint so we can just run the program now. Enter whatever we want. Enter whatever we want. Okay. Now we want to change this line. I can tell it's this line because it's a little bit gray. We've already changed it before. We want to change this line to jump to here. This is a bad boy. So we want to change it to 40, 80, 86. Jump 40, 80, 86. And then we want to change what it's outputting to push EAX. Now we've already tested this, we know it works. So what we can do now is right click, copy to executable, all modifications, copy all. Okay, we're going to ignore this. So we're going to close that. We want to save it. I'm going to save it to keygen new. I already did this because I just wanted to test it. And we can close this for now. I'll continue to run it. We can run a new one. There was no window that came up. That's awesome. Testing. Who cares? And there's the password. So we've just cracked this program and turned it into a keygen. So now we can put in whatever your username is. It'll give us what the username should be.